A few years after high school, all I wanted to be was an investment banker. I'd be staying up late nights building discounted cash flow models for fun. I'd be reading Barbarians at the Gate on the weekend. I was just doing everything I could to get that shot. And thankfully it worked for me. I ended up having that opportunity for a few years after university. But then I changed. I moved from finance into business and got involved in technology. And it wasn't so much about changing jobs, it actually changed the way I thought about my impact, my time, relationships. And that's what I share in this video, the 4 big things I picked up from making that change. So if you're thinking about switching over, or maybe you already have, hopefully there's something in here that resonates. The first lesson I picked up was just how much messier real business can be. And what I mean by that is in finance, brain power can lift a lot of the freight because having the right information or idea can create a lot of the value. That's not the same in business. In business, where you're grinding out products and services and all the stuff that comes with that, purchase orders, marketing campaigns, technical issues, credit refunds, HR, just a lot messier. And the best analogy I've heard on this is how to put money to work. If I gave you $100 million today, and if you're in finance world, you could get that money working for you within minutes. You can go put it in some financial asset like stocks or bonds or gold. That's not the same business. If someone gives a business $100 million, it takes years to invest that money. You have to go out, hire the people, build the teams, create the culture, go into new markets, launch products and services, and all the stuff that comes from that I mentioned earlier. And it's just a different beast. Now, the analogy I really like to explain this is finance is more like playing chess. You've got the rules of the board, it's defined, it's precise, it's surgical. Whereas in business, it's a lot more like molding clay. You've got this big lump of clay that's messy and beautiful in its own way, but you're sort of molding it and sculpting as it goes without absolute clarity of where it ends up at the end. The second thing I picked up was how much more tangible real business can feel. Now, in investment banking, which is what I did for those few years, you'd be working on some deal and putting in a company A together with company B. There'd be some adjustments, and you got C, where you've created $50 million of value for shareholders. Obviously, a lot harder to do in practice than on paper, but that was a general gist. Now, in business, it's not like that. You're not putting A and B together to get C. What you're doing is creating a product or service where a business can then solve their problems and create value, and you can share in that value. It's a very different equation, and it just hits differently. Because in finance world, creating $50 million for some anonymous faceless shareholders is great, but when you're helping Sue make payroll or create value for a community, it's just a completely different experience. I remember a few years ago, one of our customers that was a small account, like $5,000, after a few months called me, and I was thinking, this is not good. And Tony was his name. He says, Andy, I just want to say, thank you so much. I'm so glad we found you. And I remember thinking, wow, really tangible sense of that impact that our product or service is having on the community, which is something that I never really got those warms and fuzzies working in finance. Now, the third thing that I found was very different is the concept of time. In banking, we were sprinting towards a finish line to close this deal or close our deal because time kills all deals, and there's always new variables, new changes in the markets, new interest rates that could influence that actual deal coming together. And we were working on mainly success fees. So if the deal doesn't close, there's no value created and there's no advisory fee for the finance firm. Now in business, it's different because you're not running to a timeline. It's, as Phil Knight says, 24/7, war without bullets. There's no end date. You're just always working to achieve that endless growth. And when I made the switch into business, my co-founder actually had to pull me aside and say, hey, Andy, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. We've got to find something that's more sustainable that we can do, not just for a few months, but for years, hopefully decades. And that was a really big shift for me in understanding the value of time and how business just never ends. Now, the last thing is the value of relationships. I saw in finance, having the right external relationship with that board member or that CEO or that chairman of the board can lift a lot of the freight in getting that deal for the company. Then we can execute on it and do that transaction. That's the same in business, of course. There's a valuable relationship you can have with a partner or word of mouth or referral, but the far more valuable relationships isn't external. It's actually internal, in getting Sue from marketing to work with Sally from product to make sure they get along with Steve from customer support. Because it's those relationships that won't get you the additional 1 or 2 customers, but working together, they'll build the best product and service to get you the next 100 or 1,000 customers. That was a really big shift. So the 4 things I picked up. Now, neither way is right or wrong. They're just different with different risks and rewards. You got to figure out what's the best for you. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you on the next one. You!